Hello, everyone, and welcome to this podcast. A couple things to start off. I am so sorry yesterday when I was recording the podcast, I forgot to introduce myself. My name's Betty. And another thing I noticed when playing the episode back yesterday, you can hear water in the background. Well, that's my turtle tank. And she's not for turtle soup, okay? Okay, so now that we got all that out of the way, this episode's going to be about Outlander, episode 1, the pilot. A couple things I want to do before we get into the discussion of it. I'm going to read the synopsis, then we'll start discussing about it, and then at the end I'm going to read some trivia about the episode. So I think that'll be fun. Anyway, so let's get into it. The storyline is 6 months after the end of World War II, Claire Randall and her husband Frank head to Scotland for a second honeymoon. They've been apart for 5 years, with Claire having served as a frontline nurse, and this is a chance for them to get to know one another again. Frank is researching his own family history, and they visit the ruins of Castle York. Frank is particularly pleased when, with the help of a local minister, he comes across letters that mention his 18th century ancestors, Blackjack Randall, a British Army officer who served in the area. When Claire goes off on her own and visits the site where they had watched Druid worshippers, she finds herself transported back in time to 1743. There she encounters Frank's ancestor and a handsome young Scot by the name of Jamie. Okay, so the episode, and my thoughts on it, first thing I noticed was the coloring in the episode. Like, when she's with Frank in her time, the coloring is like blue and gray, kind of a darker, boring almost coloring. But when she goes through the stones, it brightens up, like you see greens and gold colors and, the leaves, and, it's setting the mood. The coloring in this episode sets the mood for the episode. Like I touched on it a little bit yesterday, when she's with Frank in her own time and all of that, I had a hard time on the first watch, getting into it. But then when she goes through the stones, it picks up, she goes down that hill, the music gets better. It just, the episode builds up. And I think that's on purpose, they want to show the differences between her time with Frank and her time with Jamie. It's supposed to be more interesting in the past, and then in the 1743, as opposed to her time in the 20th century. So another thing I noticed in this episode was the unspoken looks and glances that all the actors give. Like, they don't have to say anything for you to know that, when Claire sees Blackjack Randall by the river and they just kind of look at each other, he's no good, She actually, first she thinks it's Frank, but, she gets to looking at him and he gives her a look and it's like, no. I mean, without the clothes, they look the same, but there's something in his eyes that she can tell he's not a good person. So she knows she's in danger. Like, when she first goes through the stones, she doesn't realize where she's at, and how many of y'all, right when she went through the stones, screamed at your TV and told her, turn around and touch the stones again so you can go back because you're in a dangerous place? I'm one of those people. But anyway, that's a different subject all entirely. But so back to her at the river with Blackjack Randall, just with the look, you knew something was wrong with this guy. And then, of course, Murdoch comes and gets her, and he has to knock her out and take her. So when she goes to the cottage, and sees Jamie, and they're about to set his, but when she first goes into that cottage, and Dougal and all the men there, they're talking in Gaelic. She doesn't understand them, but they all have they all look at each other without saying anything, or without saying what we know that they're saying. We know that they're suspicious of this woman. So my point is the things I noticed in the episode was all the actors being able to convey what they're thinking with just looks, like when they're going down the road on the horses, and Claire recognizes the mountain, and she says that there's probably soldiers over there, and they like, Jamie's like, well, how do you know that, and so he goes over there and he talks to Dougal, and just them looking at each other, and Claire has stepped in it, so and then he drops Claire off the horse, and they go running, and anyway. So when Jamie comes back and finds Claire, he wants to get her to come with him, and she doesn't want to go with him this time. But he's like, well, I can throw you over my shoulder, and do you want me to do that? And she's like, no. And so that's kind of a funny scene for that moment. How many of y'all actually was like, Claire, are you stupid? I want him to throw me over my shoulder. I know he's injured, and I know that's why she said no to him. But Sam Hewen, please throw me over your shoulder. Take me away. Anyway, so they get back on the horse, and they're going, and he falls over, and he's been shot, and he didn't tell nobody. And so that scene where she's bandaging him up, and she's cussing like a sailor, and all the Highlanders are like, we've never heard a woman speak this way before. Well, what